Welcome back to Indiana Diecast Racing and the Death Race. Believe it or not, this is the final regular season video for Round 1. Kicking off Group 37, Carmelo is driving the Manta, a 69 Corvette Stingray for Arlo Racing. From Rust Belt Diecast, Old Joe is in Oily, a 68 Shelby GT500. From Funky Mother Chicken Racing, it's Bluebud driving a Sheriff Dodge called Interceptor. And lastly, Ant-Man is representing House Cup champion Tex 10 Racing in a Chevelle SS called Thunder. Here we go with Carmelo and Joe up front, Blue and Ant-Man in the back. A very even start out of the gate, and Old Joe slides in front of Carmelo, who falls off the track. It's Joe, Ant-Man, and Bluebud as they cross the overpass, and Joe's on his side and Bluebud rolls as well. Ant-Man will slide his way to the finish to win on a triple DNF lap 1. Carmelo gets a decent start, but Old Joe hits him with an oil slick and he drives right off the track. Old Joe leads them across the overpass but gets hung up on the wall. Bluebud rolls trying to avoid Joe's wreck, paving the way for a solo victory that will give Ant-Man a huge advantage for the remainder of the race. Winning from P4 on lap 1, Ant-Man and Tex 10 on top. Bluebud takes the pole for lap 2, Carmelo outside with Ant-Man and Old Joe in the back. Another close start, and this time Carmelo takes the lead from the outside lane while Joe spins in front of Ant-Man. They spread out single file with Carmelo way out front. Lap 2 is Carmelo, Bluebud, Old Joe, and Ant-Man. No wait, Old Joe's massive hood ornament has rolled him in the final turn. As they head into the triangle, Old Joe is hot on the heels of Bluebud, but he must have rolled it right there because he's clearly already on his side. Ant-Man really struggled that lap but manages to avoid Joe to take third. And just like that, Ant-Man's 4-point lead is cut to 2. Old Joe's still looking to get on the board. Ant-Man up front for the first time today with Bluebud outside. For the third time, it's an even start and Ant-Man claims the lead while Blue spins behind him. Ant-Man awkwardly takes turn 3 and he rolls in turn 4. What? He's back on his wheels and just holds on for the win in one of the closest finishes of the tournament. Ant-Man and his green Chevelle hit turn 3 with the lead well in hand, but that's where things start to come apart. He loses speed on the overpass and enters turn 4 too shallow, going inverted. Miraculously, he hits the outside wall at just the right angle that he's able to recover, hitting the final turn at just the right angle. He blocks the field barreling down on him and gets back up to speed. Lap 3 winds up being Ant-Man, Bluebud, Old Joe by a hair, and Carmelo. Old Joe and Ant-Man start up front, Carmelo and Blue in the back. This group is so evenly matched in speed, and Joe spins in front while Bluebud falls off the track in the back. We nearly lose Carmelo in turn 2, and Old Joe may have a shot here. He leads in reverse as they spread out, and lap 4 will go to Old Joe. Ant-Man is second, and Carmelo manages third. Things start normal enough, but the front and back end spin, Blue unable to stay on track, and Carmelo is lucky his back end swung around so quickly, or he might have lost all momentum. Ant-Man wins, and Carmelo's third place finish on lap 4 is just enough to put him ahead of Old Joe and Bluebud for second. For Group 38, it's Lone Star, coming from Live Young Diecast in a Lamborghini Countach called LP400S. Apparently driving in straight from Vegas, Floater is driving a 67 Camaro named Low Roller for Rust Belt Diecast. In a Nissan Fairlady called Slogoth, it's Minion. And lastly, Darren Quace joins us in a Pontiac Firebird called Kaka. An eclectic group for sure, with Lone Star and Floater starting up front, Minion and Darren in the back. Lone Star gets a good jump, but the group stays right with them into one. They get single file, Lone Star leading comfortably. It's smooth sailing through the triangle. Floater and Minion spin. Floater's on the side but gets pushed across the line. And he rolled a 3. Floater has crapped out. Somewhat surprisingly, everyone runs a pretty clean fast lap until the final turn, when Floater actually rolls, and when he gets smacked by Minion, you can see the die separate from his roof. I actually have to give it to Floater. That's probably one of the most successful wreck-and slides I've ever seen on this track, as he still took second. Lone Star and his Lambo take the early lead. Minion joins Lone Star up front for lap 2, and apparently Floater has elected to continue running without his roof die, possibly in the hopes that it'll keep him from rolling. Minion gets sideways, and Lone Star's gonna run away with lap 2. Minion doing everything he can to block Floater, and Darren runs into Floater's die and pushes it across the line like we're playing hockey. This is wild, 2 laps and no DNFs. Minion gets squirrely on the overpass, setting up the double block that carries through the triangle. They almost break free in the final turn, but Minion realizes Floater's gonna pass him and applies some left rudder. Lone Star extends his lead to 3 over Floater and Minion. Things not looking great for Darren Quaist. Darren takes the pole with Minion on the outside. Another very even start, and Darren edges out front and gets sideways in front of Minion. They nearly go 3 wide. Oh! And Darren gets tossed off the track. Floater leads them to the finish, and it's Floater, Minion, and Lone Star. There's our first DNF of the day, and it was a doozy. Darren makes good use of his pole position to get in front, but his lightweight Firebird gets turned. He comes out of turn 3 at an angle that puts him over the wall, though fortunately he gets saved from a fall by the safety barrier. The top 3 all within striking distance, but unfortunately that DNF will ensure Darren's trip home. Floater and Darren will start up front, Lone Star and Minion in the back. Floater gets the best start of the day, easily taking the initial lead. Whoa! He explodes off the track like he hit a landmine, and Darren assumes the lead with his double barrels pointing back at the competition. Minion and Lone Star close the gap. Minion takes a shot, but Darren Quaist will win lap 4. I'm not at all sure what caused Floater to jump the track, but he goes high into turn 2, and as he exits, he must have clipped a fender or something on the tiniest track seam. But that's why we've got the sub-track safety surface. Lone Star hangs on for the group win, and Minion passes up Floater to take second. On to the final group of round 1. Flip is from Flip's Racing, driving a chrome-wheeled lethal diesel called Warboy. In a lethal diesel with a roof turret, Brutal's ride is called 12 O'Clock High. He's from Filipiak Performance Diecast. In Rapid Fire, a jet black lethal diesel with orange wheels and twin Gatling guns, it's Sneaky Bob from Vapor Racing. And the final driver to be introduced this tournament, it's the V-Man from the A-Team, driving a gold and silver lethal diesel called Cluster Bomb. Flip and Brutal start up front, Sneaky Bob and V-Man in the back. The outside lane gets marginally ahead, and Brutal pulls ahead while Sneaky Bob spins in the back. Flip gets sideways and Brutal extends his lead. V-Man gets forced off the overpass. Brutal runs away with lap 1. Flip rolls in backwards for second, and Sneaky Bob third. Lap 1 starts off fairly calm, but Flip's sideways slide heading into turn 3 sets up some chaos. He struggles to drive backwards and block, pushing V-Man up onto the wall with some help from Sneaky Bob. Brutal and FPD on top after 1. Bob and Flip up front for lap 2 with V-Man and Brutal in the back. The trend of close starts continues, and Flip uses his momentum to spin out front from the outside. Ooh, Flip gets flipped by Sneaky Bob, and the diesel train is shoving him down the track. They come to the finish, and it's Sneaky Bob, Flip, ooh, and I think Brutal might have snuck past V-Man to steal third. What begins as a decent start for Flip quickly goes bananas as he tumbles and slides down the track. The closeness of the pack and the smooth flat side of Flip's vehicle allows him to travel at speed, and somehow he positions himself perfectly to pop back on his wheels as they enter the triangle. And we've got a three-way tie atop the group at the midway point, V-Man 5 points behind. V-Man will fight from the pole on lap 3 with Sneaky Bob to his side. Dead even into 1, V-Man comes out in front. They're racing hard, and Brutal spins but holds his position. V-Man takes it to the house, followed by Sneaky Bob, Brutal, and Flip. A most unusual lap where they wind up finishing in starting order, and the wildest thing that happened was Brutal spin on the overpass. Sneaky Bob takes a 1-point lead into the final lap, Brutal second with 8, Flip with 7, and the V-Man knocking on the door with 5. Brutal will get the final pole, V-Man on the outside with Flip and Sneaky Bob in the back. They hit turn 1 even, and Brutal takes the lead from the outside. They're already single file and Brutal spins. V-Man gets his chance as they come to the line. Ooh, that was super close! But V-Man definitely wins lap 4. And amazingly, no DNFs as a result of that finish funnel collision. Brutal exits turn 3 awkwardly, allowing V-Man to get inside and make a timely pass. Sneaky Bob briefly gets by as well, holding up the pair and allowing Flip to drive from the back to claim second. And we couldn't have asked for a closer finish to the final group. Flip, Brutal, and Sneaky Bob all tie atop the group, while V-Man will sadly be eliminated 1 point behind. Only 2 can prevail, however, so we're heading back to the track for a 3-way runoff. Officials have decided to treat this like a mini group race, so we'll do 3 more laps and rotate starting positions. An uneventful lap 1 is Bob, Brutal, and Flip. As you can see, we'll do 3 points for first. Brutal on the pole for lap 2 with Flip on the outside. Brutal gains the lead this time and Sneaky Bob spins in the back. Brutal on an absolute tear, this may be the fastest lap we've seen today. Flip is second and Bob bounces in for third. Points fairly even as we head to the final lap, Flip with 3, Brutal 5, and Bob 4. Points underdog, Flip on the pole, Sneaky Bob outside, and points leader Brutal in the back. Flip gets in front, but he spins. Flip gets pointed the right way, but now Brutal is sideways blocking Bob. Brutal and Bob spin, and that'll hand the win to Flip. And here comes Bob to claim second. Brutal has come off track in turn 4, and that'll mean Flip and Sneaky Bob tie for the win of Group 39. Good news for Brutal, he will add himself to the list of wildcarders. Next time we hit the track, it'll be Breakdown, Goose, Numbskull, Saramoy, and Brutal in a crazy 5-car group of extravagant chaos. Only 2 will survive. Congratulations to Ant-Man, Carmelo, Lone Star, Minion, Flip, and Sneaky Bob. This has been Jim D for Indiana Diecast Racing. Be sure to check in next time for more slightly above mediocre diecast racing and the Round 1 wildcard Royal Rumble.